Hi everyone again. This is episode 2 of Almost Ahead of the Curve. I'm Arlaria. I'm the terrible hunter here, and with me is...
Lotuspetals, the worst monk tank you'll ever see. And by that I mean, not really all that bad, but very, very self-conscious.
I was about to say, I've tanked on a monk. I'm pretty sure I can claim that from you.
You might be right.
Maybe. So, this week we were going to talk about, how to step into raiding and stuff. Not because it's probably going to help anyone, but just because it's fun to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, where would someone start? And I have some friends that are thinking about playing, and I don't even know what to tell them, as to where to start sometimes, because thinking about it, I've been raiding for, oh god, almost 10 years at this point. I've been raiding since the beginning, so it's a pretty daunting task, actually.
Yeah, we're not exactly the most qualified, which makes us perfect to talk about. Wait, not makes us, makes it. My apologies. Because if we're terrible at talking about it, then it's perfect for this podcast.
Yeah, because we're just below the median there, so it'll be perfect.
Yeah. So, the first thing personally that comes to mind when you're just starting out, you just hit level 100, because, of course, level 100's pretty important for raiding. I would say, how do you think Proving Grounds does as learning your class? Because that's the first obvious thing, because that's one of the first things you have to do at level 100.
You don't have to do that first, because otherwise you can't get into those heroics to get things for, in this expansion, your legendary ring. Last expansion, it didn't do anything for us at all, because it was just kind of a thing you could do.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, I think Proving Grounds plays a pretty decent role. I mean, you definitely learn that if you're doing something very fundamentally wrong, if you try to beat gold, and you'll notice you might have a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people. So this surprised me, but it's, I guess, my bias coming in my experience. A lot of people have a lot of trouble with silver, actually. Yeah.
That is actually kind of surprising, but I mean, I can definitely see that because, there have been some mechanic changes in a couple of classes, and some people may think they're AoEing really hard, but in all actuality, they might really not be.
For instance, Warlock's trying to rain of fire. Poor guys.
Yeah, I've heard Rain of Fire kinda lost its shine.
I'm pretty sure it takes for less than 500 per target right now. So, yeah. I mean, I think it works pretty well for, teaching someone the basics. It's obviously not as good as, stepping into the fire of a raid. But, I mean, if you fail, then you have to improve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least it gives you a decent metric of, okay, I can get through this. You know for a fact that you're not doing everything wrong. You're always going to find random things that just aren't going to work, and I think I'd rather figure them out there and find that out there than in a group with 20-some people and,
Yeah.
Potentially get a horrible reputation because you had no idea what you were doing.
I think just imagine, applying to a guild. You show up, you're doing 20k DPS and 700 eye level. Oh, man.
Yeah, and, with your friends you're actually pretty good. Maybe because, they're newer players or, because you've just been in a casual setting.
Or they're bad.
Well, that too. It could also be that. I was trying to avoid saying the word bad, but...
Yeah, you're trying to be more polite.
Yeah. But no, I mean, there's definitely a thing to say, you can be pretty bad, doing something wrong, therefore what you're doing is bad.
Yeah. But being bad's fine as long as you try to not be bad.
Yeah, as long as you're trying to improve, you can definitely start out being bad. I know plenty of players that started out as potentially some of the worst game players I've ever seen. And I'm not talking I've seen people play WoW bad. I mean, I'm talking about I've seen people play Go Fish poorly, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Don't remember things between cards, and they never learn from their mistakes. I've seen people that were terrible at Go Fish do really well at WoW. Obviously, they're so interconnected.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Proving Grounds, it's not the best. I mean, honestly, I think it's better for tanks than just for DPS. The healer one is just stressful.
The healer one actually makes you manage your mana a little better, and it makes you rely on different spells.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I, for one, have actually never monk healed anywhere. Except for, let's see, I think I did it once in one raid during Mists, and it was literally, they needed revival, and that's the whole reason I was there. It didn't matter what I did as long as I revivaled when they told me.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why I was there. Now, this expansion, I tried it, and for anyone who hasn't done Proving Grounds, outside of just getting silver for heroics, you most definitely should go into it and get gold. Gold it's actually a pretty good feeling when you beat that, because it is not, it is not a cakewalk in most cases. If you're playing really well, then it should be pretty easy. Getting the Endless up to rank 30 to get the title, that will make you feel as though you've really accomplished something.
That actually, oh man, I actually recently just got that, and I think I am not the best player. I'm not bad by any means, but yeah, I spent like 4 hours in that, and it's because, what it does is it repeats every 10 stages, and then it does this first 10 again, but they have health buffs.
Yep, there's buffs. They come a little quicker in some cases. With the DPS, I'm assuming that's what it is. They come slightly quicker,
Yeah.
slightly more health.
And
In
it's
the case of tanks, I honestly can't remember because I did it about 2 months ago. And when I did that, it was that, man, things just seemed to hit so much harder, and looks like it honestly felt like I think the abilities came quicker. I could be incorrect. I'm sure someone can, tweet a response to you letting us know that I'm wrong. But that's what I remember. And it definitely felt as though I accomplished something pretty awesome when I did that, because getting to wave 30 really wasn't all that bad as a monk tank. Granted, I was also pretty appropriately geared. But at the same time, after rank 30, it felt like I was struggling to stay alive at times, and I really was. I got to wave 38, I think, and I lost it. It just became overwhelming, and I lost. But super fun accomplishment, and will really make you feel as though you know what you're doing, and having that confidence when you walk into a raid that you know what you're doing can make all the difference when you're trying to perform under pressure.
Yeah, especially if you're applying to a guild and you're under a trial.
Mm-hmm.
If you go in nervous, you're going to make mistakes. And
yeah, because let's face it, that's very intimidating. Walking into trial with a guild. Typically you're not going to know many people. If you know anybody, you may have run with them in a pug or something. But it's unlikely that you probably know the people pretty well. So, anything that they say to you might seem a little. What's the word I'm looking for here? It might seem a little sharp, when really they're just trying to give you constructive criticism. So having that confidence will make all the difference, let you relax a little bit at least.
I remember I just recently got out of a trial, and on one of the bosses I died to stupid. It was Ore Gorge, and I ran to fire. And the very first message I get, 5 seconds after I died, was just, "Why did you die?"
What killed you?
It was, "Why did you die?" And I explained, "Well, fire." And, "Well, you have deterrence." I'm like, "Oh God, please don't murder me." So, yeah, Proving Grounds, it helps a lot, because, if you want to, definitely Endless. Gold's pretty good, too. It helps, at the very least, learn your class.
Mm-hmm.
Endless, you have to learn a lot of your abilities.
Yep.
There's still an argument to make that it's not as good as, actual in-game practice, because it's just repeating a pattern. But you still have to do good damage, at least for the damage one. I assume for tanks you have to manage cooldowns decently well, so... Yes,
you have to manage cooldowns, you have to manage... there's also things where when you're tanking, there's a lot of tanks that think that when they're tanking they need to be stationary, they can't, run from things.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing tank endless, you're running from shit all the time.
Yeah.
You are literally running. Like in my case, I was rolling away from the little rabbit ads, because they put a physical debuff on you that's a dot, and it stacks, as far as I can tell, infinitely. And that's not fun.
No,
it's
it's
really
not.
scary. So you have to roll away, and while keeping things off your healer, while watching the ground, while taunting ads that drop aggro, it's really fun. Statue totally let me cheese a lot of mechanics.
Yeah.
But, a lot
monks.
to do, and you definitely feel like you've accomplished something, which is basically all I can really say about Proving Grounds. It's a good experience. I like it.
I would just like to note, before we go on, just because we're talking about endless, like it's not at all like required to get into a rating. Endless is just one of those extra decently difficult achievements you can go for.
It can definitely give you some more credibility and make you stand out on a map too.
Yeah.
And it definitely doesn't take too long to do. So if you have the time to do it while you're waiting for an app to come back, hey, grab it. What's it gonna hurt?
Mm-hmm. So, going from something that I think is pretty good for learning to something that's probably the worst thing you could do to learn, LFR.
LFR. Yeah.
If you want to see what the raids look like, and you want the very, very, very basics of what the bosses might do in actual difficulties, LFR is not bad for that. But you don't improve in LFR.
Yeah, I mean, in my guild here, we've been sitting talking about, we're sitting here actually talking about, where to do DPS tests at, because we actually have a lot of new recruits right now, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been asking, where can we get some, where can we get, like, some meters, like, should we go to LFR? And we just tell them, no, don't do LFR, because, one, you don't have the mechanics, that are happening in, even normal. Originally LFR, the mechanics were fairly similar. They were just toned down a little bit so they wouldn't insta-kill you. But then it kind of became this thing where it's like a loot pinata.
That's just been this expansion with LFR. Like, Bracken Spore didn't spawn fungus.
Yeah, which I found...
What?
I understand why it didn't, because I can definitely see where, two jerks could pick up the flamethrowers and just never use them and kill the group. But at the same time, that's why you have a vote to kick function.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that that's kind of what it's come down to.
But I would actually counter your point of, like, if you're just trying to show a guild your DPS, I think having a log of LFR is better than nothing.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely better than nothing, that's for sure.
Yeah, but if you can get into a normal pug and show off your DPS there, it'll definitely look better.
Oh, definitely, because that's actually showing you doing a fight with the mechanics, where in a lot of time in LFR, you can just sit there and tunnel the whole time. There's very few times where you actually can't. And, once again, those are very far and few in between.
I can't even... I can't even think of one where you can't just tunnel.
Yeah, looking at the Hellfire one, unless the tanks really screw up, there really isn't much that can really happen, unless your healers all stop healing.
So it's, like, in terms of trying to learn the fights, if you're, like, ungilded and, you don't want to pug just yet, because pugging can be intimidating. I don't pug. I'm clearing Mythic, and I don't pug normal.
And I can't say I blame you. There's people in our guild that, legitimately say, GT being one of them, is he just doesn't do pugs because he doesn't like the fact that every time he gets into a pug, either they want him on voice chat for things that he doesn't feel you need voice chat for, or, he just doesn't trust the loot, or, pick a reason, so he just avoids them.
Yeah.
That being said, if you're in a pug and they tell you to get on the vent, there might be a reason. There might be a fight or
and you probably
something like
should.
that. Yeah, worst case scenario, you just don't talk. I know people that open 2 windows of vent, which if you don't know how to do that, it's real simple. -M after the target line. If you don't know what that is, just check it out. Google it. And it's really cool because you just mute your microphone on that version of vent and stay in your guild vent and chit-chat there and still have fun, and you can still hear anything important. So it's something you can do.
Great tutorials from Linka. Just Google it.
Yeah, why not? Hey, worst case scenario, Google has a lot more information than most people have in their brain.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's an accurate statement.
I'm pretty sure it is too. So, basically, the whole point of the whole ranting about LFR, if you want to learn the mechanics of a boss, just go on Wowhead. I have some really good guides actually these days. Or YouTube, Fat Boss TV. They have pretty good guides too. I think they're just now starting their Mythic guides actually.
Oh, Fat Boss is amazing. I love Fat Boss. Yeah,
they just put their Hellfire Mythic guide up, so If you're
Oh, there you go.
poking at Mythic and you like them more than Method, then there you go.
Most definitely, yeah.
Or if you just like multiple looks. Although, to be fair, Hellfire Assault doesn't really need it. Anyway.
It's one of those fights that you can debate as to whether or not you really need a different strat for, but definitely some builds will, because, you know, it's not normal, so some people will need it, but
yeah,
to each their own.
So, if you're looking for a raiding guild, Linka, or Lotus Petals, I probably shouldn't call you Linka here. Because everyone...
Everyone's going to go, who the hell is Linka? No, I'm just for anyone who's listening, I'm known by about 40 different names from over the years. Linka was my first character. I ended up as Lotus Petals this expansion, so...
Yeah. Well, what if you're completely out of a raiding guild? Let's say you're working in normal. Let's use my example, right? I quit in Cataclysm and I came back here in MOP. What would you say would be the very first thing you would think, hey, I should look for a raiding guild?
Well, it really comes down to a couple of things. I mean, one, where are you starting? You know, whenever you come, if you're coming back in, let's assume that you know, you're already max level and you've got basic heroic level gear. You know, you have appropriate gear to walk into said, you know, raid on normal. You know, let's say you're sitting around that point. So, you know, you're not too impressive in terms of gear. You don't really have any experience. You know, you're literally, you know, the bare bones. You know, I'm the right level and I have basic gear. The first thing you should probably do is go in and hit LFR just so you can at least say you've been in the instance. As much as I disagree with LFR as a, you know, a valid anything, getting in there and just being in there is probably helpful. At least you've seen what the boss kind of does. For the most part, the bosses right now, whenever they do their abilities, like for instance, Iron Reaver does barrage regardless of difficulty. At least you've seen what that looks like, so you have something. So after you've done that, go check out the videos. Go check out the Fat Boss or, you know, the Method videos. Literally anything you can find on YouTube that's a guide for that boss. You know, for the initial couple bosses. And then try to get yourself into a pug. As a DPS, that's going to be a little challenging because there's a million of you and only so many groups. Thankfully, there's 10 spots for you. I've actually had a harder time finding a spot as a tank in a pug than I have as a DPS, which is really surprising to me.
I've actually never had problems on my hunter. Except for in the early Hymo when everyone wanted the scales.
Yes, that is definitely a thing.
Anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, that's fine. But yeah, so I would definitely start there. I would start with, you know, getting your information first. The least you can do is be well informed. If you haven't done it, be completely honest with the people you're going into a raid with and the guild you're applying that you haven't done it, you know, but, you know, you do want to learn. And obviously, if you're going to go and try to find a raiding guild, I really hate to use this term, but, you know, find yourself a random, casual, quote-unquote, stepping stone guild. You know, there's a lot of them around where, you know, they have people, they're very casual, they're not going to be angry if you leave, typically. You know, they're a fairly casual guild, they just want to do whatever. You know, find one of those guilds in trade, hop in, you know, give them a little bit of a commitment, you know, do some time. If you're going to leave, let them know why you're leaving, you know. And always try to leave on good terms when you leave a guild. It's not something I like to do, but sometimes you get lucky and you actually find a guild you can stick with because they're actually really good. They just need people. Like, for instance, you know, my guild right now, Twisted Legion, we're just in that rebuild phase where we're just looking for people to fill out our raid roster. And so we have all these DPS spots open. We actually recruited so many DPS recently that right now we're actually looking at the fact that we have to figure out which ones we want to bring, which is crazy. And from a guild standpoint, that's great. From a raider standpoint, you know, personally, I'd be going, oh man, I got to get as good as I can as quick as I can. And pretty much any guild you walk into right now that's recruiting actively, you're going to have that situation where you've got a lot of people and a lot of people fighting for, just one or two spots.
Mm-hmm.
So you also have to be pretty persistent
And
make
also,
sure you show up.
yeah, I feel like it's also worth noting a lot of it depends on your server. If you're in like a lower populated server, you might have a little more trouble finding one of the casual guilds who are fine with you just joining for a little bit and maybe leaving if you decide you want to, more progression based, or if you don't like them.
Yeah,
or if they smell funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do always, if you're ever going to leave a guild, obviously be sure there's a damn good reason. But the other thing there would be, you have to make sure you have the right expectations walking into a guild, too.
Yeah.
Because there's some people that think, oh, I'm going to join this guild, we're going to start in normal, we'll go to heroic, then we'll be in mythic. Not always realistic. There are some guilds that just, they just raid normal, and that's fine, because there are guilds that do that. There's people that only really want to be in normal. There's guilds that get to heroic, and they stop when they kill the last boss on heroic a couple times.
Mm.
And then there's guilds, that, they're a progression guild. They're, as I hate to say this too, but, they're ahead of the curve. They're in mythic. They're doing whatever they can to get as many bosses down as they can.
Yeah. No, it's also worth noting, especially when it comes to expectations, is I feel like you can't always take what the guild says at face value. You need to, like, if you are looking for a progression guild, for example, you need to make sure you look at their past progression, see how. I feel like I'm talking like a guild looking at a recruit. It goes both ways, Trial periods work for both sides. But no, because if they say, yeah, we're a progression guild, we're going to be pushing mythic, but, historically they've only gotten past heroic, just barely, maybe you might want to have that kind of expectation in mind, regardless of what they say. Or, especially if, they're in normal pushing it, and, they've only ever been in normal, and they're saying they're going to, go through mythic easily. You might want to take that with some salt.
Oh, definitely. You always have to take pretty much anything you ever hear in this game with a grain of salt, because people tend to embellish what they say because they want to sound better than everyone else, especially whenever there's a lot of competition for players. I know that on a lower pop server, you're going to have that a little bit, where you've got a very small pool of people, and probably more guilds than the server itself can actually afford to maintain, because when you've got 137 people, you can't have 12 raiding guilds. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So, you've definitely got to keep that in mind, too.
Meanwhile, if you're on Sargeras, you have, almost infinite guilds to go through, so, have fun.
Well, according to Trade Chat, there's a new transfer guild here every other day. So...
It wouldn't surprise me.
It happens a lot, and it's not surprising because, it's a very high-pop server. Some of the most progressed guilds are here. You have Midwinter over here. That's a pretty solid guild. I have a lot of respect for them. You've got a lot of guilds that are... I guess there's a lot of guilds right around your progression, too, right?
Yeah, we're somewhere... it's weird saying this. We're, rank... we're ranked 24 on the server. But, we're almost halfway through the instance. Mm-hmm. So we're in the top... It's just weird saying we're the top 900 guilds in the U.S. and ranked 24 on Sargeras.
Yeah, so there you are. You're in Bear Retirement Home, and you're ranked 24 on the server. You're in the top 900 in the U.S., and, you're looking at it as, like you said, it sounds weird to say that you're 24th on the server.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that whenever you went into that guild, you had the expectation of it was a mythic raiding guild, and it panned out.
Oh, yeah. We should... I don't know how far we're going to get, because I haven't done a ton of raiding with this guild. But, we got probably at least 6 months left. We should get to Archon.
Yeah, and I hope you do, too. I actually cannot wait to see something pop up from you that says, hey, look what I got, and has this really cool achievement. So,
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
That or we're going to die on Gorfiend. One of the two.
Yeah, Gorfiend's a nasty boss.
Oh, God, the new guild killer. So, it's just one of those things where, you gotta realize going in, like, your server really changes things. Like,
Hmm.
especially on, for instance, Argaris, where every guild that's not 7 out of 10 mythic right now is considered a stepping stone guild.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy when you think about that. Where on a lot of other servers, a guild that is pretty much, that's that exact progression could be your top end. It could be, your top 5% of the server could be sitting at that progression.
Yeah.
It really depends on where you are, and that's something else you have to keep in mind too. Is that if you really want to raid competitively, and be up there in that, that upper. I don't want to, say like a tier of guild or anything, but that's kind of the only way you can say it. If you want to be in one of those, top tier, top 1,000 guilds, sometimes you have to swap around to a different server. You obviously can't sit on a server with, 200 people and expect to make it anywhere if, the players on that server aren't the quality you need to get through what you need. It can be all sorts of fun.
Yep. So, that being said, when you do look into a guild, other than just, your expectations of how much raiding you're going to do, and, of course, their raiding times and such, because, you want to be able to make as many raids as you can, or, I guess it depends on the guild, too. Some guilds are more open, but a lot of guilds want you to show up.
Oh well, yeah. Most guilds need you there every week.
Yeah.
A lot of your smaller guilds, they literally have just what they've, filled their raid group with, and literally every person that has that quote unquote, raider rank or, member rank or whatever it is, they might all be depending on that specific, group of people to be there every week.
Yeah.
And if they're not, they just can't go, depending on the size.
But you should always... This should be the #1 rule for joining any guild, no matter who you are. Make sure you understand and agree with the loot rules ahead of time.
That is definitely one of the biggest things that leads to people, just yelling and screaming in trade, and people just yelling at each other and disagreements. I've seen friendships break up, and people go and G-Quick guilds over a single piece of loot. Because they didn't know how the loot rolls worked.
Yeah, or they misunderstood it, or...
Exactly, yeah. And the best thing you can always do, if you ever have a question in a guild, and that guild is worth being in, asking a question so that you can fully understand should have absolutely no negative repercussions whatsoever, as long as you ask the question in the right way.
Like, if a piece of loot that you swear is the best thing in the game for you, and it's garbage for that person... if it doesn't go to you, just ask why and be prepared for an answer you might not like.
Oh, exactly.
Because, when it comes down to it, when you join the guild, you agree to the loot rules.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can't stress enough how many times I've seen people, hate the loot rules, but they don't understand the loot rules until after they don't get what they want. And then they get pissed. Which, I don't always blame them. Sometimes loot rules can be convoluted. Sometimes they don't make a lot of sense. But at the same time, it's your own damn fault. Pardon my French.
You and your French.
I need to stop speaking in French.
You do. Gonna confuse people.
I know.
But no, for sure. Loot rolls are super important, and knowing what's going to happen beforehand is something you've got to know. There's a lot of people that... I know a lot of people that actually still use EPGP and systems like that to determine loot. We know that if you're in a pug anymore, you've got to say in raid chat, hey, what are the loot rolls? Please type them.
Actually, fun fact, that doesn't work anymore.
Oh, really?
Blizzard does not protect you from that anymore. Yeah,
Good to
they
know.
changed that with this expansion. But they didn't tell anyone until someone... asked, because, Blizzard's weird sometimes.
They backpedaled. That's alright,
Yeah.
though. It really shouldn't be their responsibility to, manage the community. The community should have enough,
People should not be
self-worth
dicks.
and, people just shouldn't be dicks. It's easy to do online, but there's no reason to be dicks. all you have to do when you're in a raid is, just be honest and fair. If you want something on reserve, if there's people that still do that, I just say, well, if you want to do that, just tell people that at the start of the raid when you're inviting them.
Yeah.
Not that difficult.
Though to be fair, and this is a topic for another time, but it's easy to do that now since every server is cross-server for LFG.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's no getting blacklisted anymore. But
which is something, by the way, I was super good at doing for people.
Yeah, but
blacklisting people.
That's a topic for another time.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that covers that, I don't know, we kind of rambled for a while.
Well, we're very good at that, rambling is one of our best qualities.
Yeah, I'm sure if someone listened to that, they could get, a couple nuggets of useful information.
Hopefully. If not, we've definitely not done our job, and it's going to be a weird week.
Well, to be fair, if not, then pretty par for the course.
Yeah, definitely.
So, stepping into raiding, and just in general, mods, when you play with them for long enough, they don't seem like a big deal at all. But I actually recently had a conversation with someone who didn't use any mods. They were brand new to the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't like the idea of downloading something from a random website they didn't know and throwing it onto the computer and then hoping for the best.
Oh.
Which sounds extremely silly to me. In ways. I mean, it's Curse. You can trust Curse.
Yeah.
Mostly, sometimes. 80% of the time they're trustworthy. But when it comes down to it, for raiding, you gotta have mods. There's not... you could try to not raid with mods. You'll get kicked out of your guild. But you could try.
Yeah, there's definitely some that are just... you don't have much of a choice. You kind of have to do it.
Very specifically, boss mods.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, very aptly named. They're mods that you use to kill bosses. The two big name ones being, DBM and Bigwigs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bigwigs is the one that I use. I actually catch a lot of flack for that in my guild because I use Bigwigs instead. But interestingly enough, if I hadn't told them what version, what add-on I was using, they would have never known.
I don't think it really matters. I think recently, though, DBM's been getting a lot more updates, and it's more... DBM's been updating, every week. It's been really on top of things. It's adding some cool things. But
yeah, which is great.
Yeah, you can just pick whichever one you want and you can go with it. You're fine.
Yeah, I haven't actually run into any issues at all with it. I have found pretty much zero problems with it so far. I haven't run into any timers that just didn't work. I haven't run into anything that actually didn't sync up correctly. And the nice thing is that whenever you do a pull timer in Bigwigs, it actually transmits it to all DBM users as well.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Mm-hmm. It's wonderful.
Otherwise, you would be forced to pick one or the other.
Yes, most definitely. So I'm glad the add-on author, had the wherewithal to figure out that was probably a good call, and it most definitely was.
Or they work together with it, or whichever happened.
Or something, yeah.
I don't know much about mod development, so. Other than DBM though, I'm trying to think the main mods that I couldn't live without, and I think these days it pretty much is just weak auras. Because weak auras is really, really fucking strong, man.
It is absurdly strong. I actually have some qualms with that add-on just because I feel it might be just a little bit too powerful with what you can do.
Well, for the most part, it's mostly just calling out, if certain mobs are around, or it's kind of like when you program, right? Mm-hmm. You take small things and you make them into big things. It works a lot like that. If I was actually going to point out a mod that I think is too strong right now, is Exorcist raid tools.
That might be also quite accurate.
First of all, whoever's listening, if you don't have this mod, it is amazing for raiding. It's got debuff timers, it's got cooldown timers, it's got the whole angry assignment list. You can have angry assignments in this mod, separately on its own. That's amazing. It's got specific things for bosses. I don't know if it's DBM or Exorcist, but like, for example, Shared Fate for Gorefiend, it shows you on your map where they are and which direction they are and how far they are. And it shows you how far the other person is, and it like draws it on the screen without drawing it on the screen.
It's pretty amazing what it does. I just, like I said, I kind of have mixed emotions about it because it almost seems like it's too much information and almost too much helping. Then again, at this point, with a lot of the raid mechanics and a lot of the boss fights, there's a lot of split-second decision-making, and not being able to make those and not having enough information can be the difference between a kill and a wipe. So I can definitely understand why they're an excellent addition to pretty much any raid repertoire, period.
Well, my main worry about it is, like, as the add-ons get more powerful, Blizzard doesn't really have much choice but to make the bosses themselves more powerful. Because most of these mods, they don't break any of the rules. They don't do what, I don't remember what that one mod was called in Wrath. There's a mod in Wrath that would actually, like, paint on the floor where every ability was going to go.
I do remember that. Yeah, that was a very amazing add-on. I didn't realize that was ever actually possible. And of course, they've since gone and completely busted that functionality because it shouldn't be there anyway.
Yeah.
But it was basically telegraphing everything. If you ever played WildStar, it was fairly similar. You would literally see everything on the floor.
I'm trying to think of the name of that mod, but yeah, it was. I don't know, and like you have certain bosses now that, like, if you don't have a boss timer, I don't know how you would do it. Like specifically, Menros, you know his Fellseeker, the thing that does the knockback and it grows.
Oh, it's disgusting. Yeah.
The first shot of that, you have to like be moving right before he casts it, or you'll get hit. Like, I'm a hunter with a run fast button, and like even with that, like if I don't start moving like the second it starts, I get hit, and I get hit 2 or 3 times. So it's just like,
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that you can miss out on. Oh man, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I don't even know where to go.
yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of add-ons that just make your life immensely easier. Like, there's certain things I just can't live without either. Mine are mostly cosmetic, because I honestly hate to look at the original UI. So is there anything else that you have that, like, you normally just can't play without?
Other than, like, I could live without most of my mods. Like, I have Bartender. I actually got Scotted because Recount was giving me a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like, not really. Well, I have Grid. I would actually probably say Grid, even though I don't really heal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What about you? Mods that you think are, like, you can't play without?
Well, there's a couple. The first one right now would be Pratt. Pratt, P-R-A-T.
Oh, Pratt, yeah.
I don't like the way the original chatting formatting is, and I don't like the way that the chat edit box for whenever you're typing is always at the bottom. So I shift that to the top because of how I position my my chat box, and then I have the chat formatted exactly the way I want it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's absolutely no reason whatsoever for any screen anywhere to say, I actually have to type something in my guild chat right now, so that I can see, what it actually says. Like, it says, guild, your name, your message.
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely no reason whatsoever for it to say guild, G-U-I-L-D. No reason for that to be fully typed out. This abbreviates that for me.
I probably think it just puts a G there.
Yep, yeah, it's just a G.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it has every character. There's the class colors in chat then, which I don't know if that's a default thing you can do as well, or what. I honestly don't remember because I haven't played the game without Pratt since about 2006, I think.
Yeah,
so
now that you mention it, I've had it for as long as I can remember too.
It's been a long time. So I always run with that. I've also always had some sort of meter, typically just to see what other people are doing. I normally don't watch it. Like when I'm playing a DPS, my meter's completely hidden because I don't need to see everything. I don't need everything, I don't need to see that number because 9 times out of 10 I'd just be distracting myself trying to make my number higher.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd actually be crashing my DPS because I'm not focusing on my rotation. I'm watching a stupid number in the corner of my screen. And then pretty much everything else is just cosmetic stuff that I would use. If I'm not using LVUI like I am right now because it's just simpler, I'd be using like shadowed unit frames, bartender, something like that, just to have things moved around the way I want them. But pretty much it's Pratt, and in my case it's actually Tell Me When and not Weak Auras. I'm trying to make the conversion over because Weak Auras is just so much more powerful,
it really
so
is.
much more customizable, and there's actually someone in my guild right now that can actually, he's been walking me through making Weak Auras so that I can make them for myself so that I don't have to ask other people for them, because it's actually, you can get pretty complex with those. Mine are pretty simple. I normally just want to track debuffs, see how much my stagger is ticking for in my case, how much a guard's going to do if I use it, stuff like that. So, really not all that many I actually need to have. It's just, man, they are super useful.
No, think about it. Like, the one other mod I've had since, early BC up until now, it's probably the mod I've had longer than any other mod, except for Atlas, but it's actually MSBT combat text.
Oh, mixed scrolling battle text.
Yeah. It is just amazing, and you can set it up perfectly. Oh, man, I love it.
Yeah, I had a couple issues with it before. I think there were a couple minor bugs in it with this patch, but looks like they were corrected pretty quickly like they always are.
Yeah.
I wish I knew who actually maintains it, because I don't think it's actually the person that's listed now. But whoever's doing that's doing an amazing job. So, if it is the original author, hell yeah, thank you for so long.
Seriously, like,
man,
that is... It's not the biggest deal, but just... It's compared to the basic combat text, the scrolling combat text, it's just leaps and bounds better, and it has been for years.
Most definitely.
So, just to break the mold, not the mold, the pace real quick, the mod that used to be around that got broke was AVR.
Ah, that's right. That's right,
Yeah.
okay.
And they broke it specifically, so...
Right. You were just Google searching mid-podcast, weren't you?
Yep.
Oh, good for you. I've actually been running Nax 25 on my mage this whole time. I'm trying to get transmog here.
Because we are professionals.
Well, definitely. I mean, it just proves that I can talk and chew gum at the same time. So, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Now if only I can remember how to play Frost Mage.
Well, I mean, you have to know how to play it first. So, I think that pretty much wraps up that. Is there anything else you wanted to throw in with mods?
The other thing you have to keep in mind is that sometimes you can have too many mods. That is a possibility.
Oh, God. You can slow your game down to a crawl.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point now where I'm trying to cut back on mods as much as I can because my computer's showing its age. I'm still running on an AMD Athlon 2 processor while I'm the main tank for a guild. So,
Rip.
For anyone who knows anything about technology, you're sitting there cringing and asking yourself why.
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer for you, but hopefully that'll be replaced soon. So in my case here, memory is completely an issue, so I'm trying to go as lightweight as possible.
Yeah, I would say if you have a computer that isn't on the powerful side, just try and stick with the basics of what you need and don't go much farther than that.
Yeah, because there's actually a lot of stuff you really don't need. There's basic things you need for playing like on a dot class, and you got to have something to track your dots that's better than the base UI, because unfortunately it's not really...
Weak Auras does that perfectly.
I've heard Weak Auras does a lot of things.
Yeah, it's almost like we were just talking about.
Wait, are we doing a podcast too?
Oh, weird.
I thought we were just on Skype chit-chatting. Man, I had no idea.
Oh, man, Weak Auras. I would say if you were going to pick 2 mods to play with and you're new to the game, and you just want the power to do everything, just Weak Auras and DBM. Or,
Yeah.
Or
You might be
hell,
right.
cut out DBM. Just go weak horse. You can do that.
This is also
That's
true.
how strong weak horse is.
I guess you could technically go and just put everything for every boss into
I
a
wouldn't
weak horse,
recommend
couldn't
it,
you?
but you could. But just DBM weak horse, you're set. You can have weak horse that tell you how to play your class fully.
That's a little scary, actually.
I did that for BM Hunter with Focus 5.
Did you really?
I had a weak horse made by the guy who makes the Hunter guide on MMO Champion.
I see.
Yeah, because I was bad. And I was like, you know what? This will make me less bad.
Well, I mean, you can't argue with things that actually give you results, so...
Yep. The more you know.
Yep.
So,
QGI Joe music.
on that note, we actually have 2 user questions. And by user, I mean I asked the Warlock in my guild for 2 questions, and I didn't give him a, choice in the matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. First question. What boss have you found the most challenging? He didn't put a timeline on that. I'm guessing he meant Hellfire, though.
Okay. Well, from a tank standpoint, most challenging boss for me, definitely Archimonde. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is one hell of a fight. So much going on, so much damage, so many things to watch for, so many little nuances that can just cause your raid to just fall over dead. Definitely Archimonde.
For me, I'm actually going to answer this 2 ways. The hardest one I have doing decent DPS on, funny enough, is Zakoon for some reason. I don't know why. I can't damage that fight. I don't know. It's the easiest fight for DPS, and I can't do it. For the hardest actual fight that we've done as a group, probably Archimonde also.
I can definitely respect that.
Archimonde's not a pushover.
No, he's definitely not a pushover. He's one of those guys that will unfortunately really test the limits of your raid group.
Yeah,
And by unfortunately, I mean thank God, because not having a challenging boss at the end would be a disservice to everyone.
Yeah, it's just funny because going through Heroic, it's like everything's pretty much a pushover, and then like you get hit in the face with Archimonde, who is
Yes.
definitely not. And then our second class, if you could play any class currently in the game, other than the one you're playing, which would it be?
So if I had just free reign and I could play whatever I wanted right now.
Yeah.
Assuming that I was good at it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If I could play any class right now and, be amazing at it, I'm gonna have to go with Mage. The amount of damage mages can put out, that has got to feel amazing. And that's actually never something I've never gotten to experience being at the top of the meter, except at the beginning of the expansion as a Windwalker.
Yeah.
Until they nerfed us. So.
Yeah, let me tell you from experience, it's pretty nice.
Wow. Humble brags. Humble brags.
Yeah. For me, I think it'd actually be Boomkin.
Boomkin, that's an interesting choice.
I've always wanted a Boomkin, and I've never gotten one past level 60. I don't know. I get to level 60 and I go, I'll do it later. And then I make a new one on a different server. I've done this 4
sounds
times.
like a lack of dedication.
4 times.
Huh.
I have 7 level 100s and none of them is a Boomkin.
That just seems wrong. You should finish that.
I will eventually. I might do that this week. I don't know.
Hey, it'll give you something to do while you're waiting for the next expansion to release.
Demon Hunter.
Ah, Demon Hunter.
I'm going to be a Demon Hunter. But that wasn't in the question. It said currently in the game. Demon Hunter's not. Yeah.
Right, which is why you picked Boomkin, because you've just never gotten there.
Yeah, if not Boomkin, then I don't know. No, I'll just stick with Boomkin.
That's the easiest way to go, yeah.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a backup, as if there's just no way we could ever fit another mage into the raid, which pretty sure that just won't happen too often. My backup would probably be Feral Druid.
Feral Druid seems like it'd be fun.
Well, there's something about being a cat that's just entertaining, and
Meow.
exactly. It's just it's a little different. So I could definitely see that happening.
Yep. So I think that is just about everything we got. So to quickly sum it up, if you're stepping into raiding, Proving Grounds is nice to do. It's good for learning your class. LFR is garbage. And know what you're looking for in a guild, if you want a guild. And for mods, get DBM and weak auras. And you're good.
Yep. Yep.
And if you're out there and you know how to update mods, you should update Trivia Bot.
Yes, for the love of God, please, that thing needs an update. Like, desperately.
And new questions. But I think that will do it for us.
Oh no, you mean we have to wait till next week?
Yeah. All of our single viewers will have to wait till next week to hear more of us. So.
Oh man. Well, I guess we'll just have to come back next week and, give them a couple more random tidbits of information about how, wonderfully average we are at this game.
And wonderfully average we are at making a podcast.
That too.
Would we even say, I would say below average, but...
We're almost ahead of the curve.
Almost.
Yeah.
And with that, see everyone next week and stuff.
Yep,
Bye.
see you guys. 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 Guys.